What's up, everybody? It's me, E-Man from E-Man's Movie Reviews, and today we're going to review DC's Blue Beetle. Thank you so much for all of you that are joining today. We are going to go over the good, the bad, the reason, and I'll give you my rating for this movie. But first, we have got to start off with a quick introduction. Jaime Reyes has been chosen by an alien Scarab to become its symbiotic host, giving him amazing and unpredictable powers. He now has to decide what it takes to be a hero given the challenges to come. All right, enough of that. Let's jump right into the good.
The good.
Xolo Maridueña was not only perfectly cast for this role, but he also gave a really solid performance. I thought he was incredibly relatable, and I loved his approach in gaining these new powers and the love that he had for his family. The film made his journey of becoming a hero feel more realistic, especially with the technology that was involved. And kudos, by the way, to the costume department because Blue Beetle's suit looked amazing. Now, I will say one of my favorite moments was when Jaime was initially transforming into the Blue Beetle. While we've seen plenty of hero transformations in other movies, this one managed to feel unique to the point where it could stand on its own. And shout out also to the VFX used during these scenes because it also felt really spot on. Now, I'll say that the theme of family worked very well, specifically through Jaime's character. There's a pretty emotional scene that happens, and you'll know it when you see it, that was essential in shaping Blue Beetle's identity. What made this scene so effective was all the buildup in the previous scenes on how essential family was to Jaime. Now, with that buildup, I thought it led to a satisfying, dramatic scene that really helped this film grow right before our eyes. On another note, I really liked the action scenes too. My initial concern with this movie was that maybe the scenes would look a little too familiar to other superhero movies that we've seen before. However, the director did a really good job in managing to pay homage to other movies, kind of like Man of Steel, without making the fight scenes look like a direct ripoff. Probably the best element of Blue Beetle was the authentic Latino culture that was portrayed. My assessment of this comes mainly from the reactions that I saw from other Latino viewers that happened to be in attendance of my screening. So like, let's say certain Spanish phrases were said or certain cultural references were made. I heard the hooting and the hollering and the cheers from those members in the audience. And honestly, that's all I needed to know, that this film was speaking to the people that it intended to speak to, you know. And at the same time, I didn't feel left out in the cold, despite not understanding all of the references. But either way, I was happy that those who felt represented in this film, you know, were able to take something meaningful from it. So that's a plus in my book, and I think that that definitely goes a long way. Now, with all of that said, let's get on to the bad.
The bad.
Unfortunately, Blue Beetle could not escape the formulaic curse that's plagued so many superhero movies. The story felt overly familiar and easily predictable at almost every single turn. It almost didn't help that the ending of the movie also came off very cheesy and corny. At some point, it almost felt like I was watching a Disney movie or Spy Kids or something. Yes, there were a couple of good moments of comic relief. I thought Nana was a delight in what she brought to the table. However, what didn't work for me was the over-inclusion of the family. Don't get me wrong, the Reyes family is fun, they're charming, and they are a delightful part for most of the movie. However, the film spent way too much time with them at the expense of the main character. Now, I'll say that I was really disappointed with the fact that we didn't get a lot of Blue Beetle in a Blue Beetle movie. I mean, imagine watching a Spider-Man origin film and we end up spending a whole lot more time with Aunt May, Uncle Ben, and Mary Jane for like, I don't know, 30 minutes of the movie. That's not what I came for. I came for Spider-Man. It's the same deal with Blue Beetle. I wanted to see more of the main character, and I felt this movie kind of sidetracked a little too much into the family.
What is he talking about?
He's talking about this.
Oh, I forgot how bad it looks.
I've seen worse.
Where?
You don't want to know.
Now, what I also will say is that while it did make sense for the theme of family to be a prominent component of the story, it was completely overused in multiple ways. From the dialogue constantly reminding people how important family is, to the excessive use of the supporting family characters, this family theme had the same energy as a Fast and Furious movie. The issue is that after the first act of the film, the family aspect got so repetitive that it almost became a little annoying. Like, I found myself saying in my head, okay, I get it. Family is important. Like, message received. This is the point in the movie where, like, simply giving it more subtext would have probably been a bigger benefit. In other words, you can show us stuff without telling us stuff over and over and over again. But the last point of critique that I have for Blue Beetle, and this is kind of being a little bit more specific with the heavy-handed family stuff, was George Lopez. I mean, my goodness, his presence in this movie was so overbearing, and that's just to say the least. For a supporting character, it felt like he wanted to take over the movie, but not like in a good complimentary way. His character, Uncle Rudy, he was funny for the most part, don't get me wrong, but he definitely needed to be scaled back in this film. There were moments when his character didn't even make sense as to why or how he was involved with things. For example, there are moments in the film where other characters could have fulfilled a certain role or function. However, Rudy comes in conveniently knowing how to do everything that's needed. Again, let me be clear. George Lopez is a fine actor, but his inclusion in the film went way overboard and took a lot of shine away from other characters that probably would have made the story make more sense. Anyway, now's the time that we get on to the reason.
The reason.
Blue Beetle is a wonderful, fun introduction for DC's first Latino superhero on the big screen, but it's just a shame the movie couldn't have been more than just average. The hope going into this film was that it would have had a similar social impact that Black Panther had when it debuted. Now, Black Panther was able to speak to Black culture and be a great movie, while Blue Beetle spoke to Latino culture without being mind-blowing. I don't see this film in particular pushing the needle in terms of comic book movies, but the representation it carries is undeniable. I can't say that a sequel for Blue Beetle is necessary either, although I'd love to see what this character has to offer in the future of the DCU based on what this movie started. If a sequel were to happen, hopefully they tone down that family volume a lot and bring a lot less of George Lopez and focus more on Jaime Reyes. So when it comes to the rating for Blue Beetle, I've got to give it probably a 7 out of 10. You know, Blue Beetle originally was supposed to be made and debuted on HBO Max streaming, but they decided to put it in the theaters. The crazy thing is, had this come out on streaming, I think it actually would have been better. Like, I think it would have been a better watch. It feels like it's gonna be kind of a hard thing, a hard sell to be like, yo, come pay $20-$40 on date night or whatever to come watch Blue Beetle. Now, I'm not saying don't go see it. I'm just saying I don't know if it's gonna be worth that much unless you're doing it for the representation. If you go in there just to support the movie, yo, by all means, do your thing. But I'm kind of leaning towards this might be a $5 Tuesday, a matinee watching at most. In other words, temper those expectations. Like I said, I don't think this is going to blow people away, but it's still a decent movie nevertheless. By the way, there are 2 post-credit scenes. The first one is a little predictable and it's not really something that's going to like be a huge shocker. And the second one is all in Spanish. with no subtitles. So if you don't speak Spanish like me, it might not be worth your time waiting all the way to the end of the credits to watch. But either way, I'd say feel free to go check out Blue Beetle in theaters. Anyway, do you plan on watching Blue Beetle? If and when you do, come on back to this video and let me know what you thought about it. I want to thank you guys for taking the time to watch my video. I really appreciate it. If you're new here and you like what you see, don't forget to like this video, subscribe, and don't forget to hit that bell so you don't miss out the next time I drop a video. I've got more videos and reviews to do for you all, and until next time, I'll see you all later.